Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It's a very wet Thursday morning out there today. In northern England, it rains for months on end. Today we're going to be talking about the Quinton Simon case. And there's a few things that have come up that I need to discuss with you. The protesters are still out there. Their aim is to break Leilani and Billy Joe to get them to tell the truth. I don't think Leilani's going to break. That's just my personal opinion. And I think Billy Joe is going to cover up for Leilani. So if Leilani has told Billy Joe what really happened, I don't think Billy Joe is going to come out and tell the public the truth. Whether she's keeping her daughter talking, whether she's working with the police, there's been speculations that that's what her aim is, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you. It's possible, I guess. But the protesters are out there. The other night, a young woman came running out from the back area of the house through the gate, and Billy Joe chased her. Now, I think this is Leilani, but some people say it isn't. I don't know who else it could be, but I think it's Leilani. Kind of responding angrily to the taunts. You know, they were playing like baby noises, crying babies. It is horrible. I mean, I don't know how they're living like that. But I don't think Leilani is going to break. Again, my personal opinion. Meanwhile, specially trained FBI officers are still searching the Superior landfill site, which is, I believe, a couple of miles away from their home. I do hope that the police have got really solid evidence that Quinton is in that landfill. I'd hate to think that they've wasted weeks of resources, time and money if it turns out that Quinton isn't in that landfill. At the moment, personally, I think he is. I think the police must have some strong evidence. There's speculations that it's video evidence of Leilani going to the trailer park whose dumpsters she allegedly put Quinton in. So if they've got surveillance video and they clearly see her putting something in that dumpster that could be Quinton sized, then I could understand how they would work that out. That this is a disposal, a horrible disposal, in a dumpster. Throwing a baby away into trash is just awful. It's callous. I know this is horrible to say, and trigger warning, guys. From a getting rid of a body easily standpoint, you know, the one of a small child, putting him in a dumpster on trash collection day is actually a really good move. Once that little body, you know, tiny body, which will decompose very quickly because the tissues are soft, even the bones are soft, the decomposition will be rapid. You know, trash at landfills, it's compacted, it's buried, and this happened allegedly on the 5th of October. So by the time they'd started searching the landfill, Quinton had been there well over a week, and the decomposition day on day, every day they're there, that decomposition will be continuing. You know, those guys out there, they're not expecting to find a full human body. They just want to find anything, any evidence that Quinton was there. Now, there is a rumour, before they even started searching, that a cadaver dog hit on that landfill. Now, I don't know where in that landfill. I don't know whether it was a trash truck that the dog hit on, whether it was an area of landfill that the dog hit on. I don't know, and it's only a rumour. But that would be another indication to the police that Quinton was actually there. Now, there are some issues with cadaver dogs searching landfills, so I think we perhaps need to have a little talk about that, really. Now, cadaver dogs are searching for the scent of human decomposition, the death scent, that horrible smell that comes off dead animals and obviously humans. Now, cadaver dogs are very well trained to ignore dead animals. In a landfill, there's going to be many dead animals like rats and things like that. But they're trained to focus on the scent of human decomposition. That horrible smell is cadaverine. It's a substance that is produced when proteins in the body break down. But there's other odours as well that dogs detect. And, you know, there's been studies working out exactly what odours the cadaver dogs are focusing on. And the dogs know what they're doing, but humans trying to work out how they're actually doing it is an interesting thing in itself. But dog searching landfills is very perilous. And last night I watched a live stream on No Thanks, his channel, and I'll leave a link to that in the description box. He had a dog search expert and trainer on there who was very interesting. And he said in the old days, if they were searching landfills for human remains, they'd literally send a dog into the landfill. And those dogs would come back with cut paws that would get infected because of the bacteria. They got respiratory infections. I mean, if you just look at the guys, you know, fully kitted out to search that trash, a dog wouldn't be wearing that kind of gear. So it's very perilous for the dog. It gives them health issues. So these days, I don't think they send dogs into the trash piles itself. I think there's a lot of care taken with those dogs. They're expensive. It's time consuming to train them, to keep them, and obviously there's the welfare of the dog, his or herself, that the handlers will be keen to, you know, protect. So they won't send dogs into really perilous situations. They could have cadaver dogs there that would search the trash. You know, once it's kind of laid out, they might send a dog around that area to see whether it would pick something up. And even if it's a very small amount of human remains left or bones, then a cadaver dog could detect it. But the guy on No Thanks channel made a really good point that death scent, that smell, it's very greasy and it sticks to everything. You know, if you get the scent of death in your nose, it seems to linger for ages. Well, it's because of the particles that are coming off. You're actually breathing those in and they are sticky, they're greasy. So it sticks in the nose. So it genuinely is. You're able to smell it for a long time after you've, you know, gone away because it's stuck in your nose. It's horrible. But it would also stick to other things. So if there was human remains in the trash, it's going to contaminate lots of other trash. So if you send a dog in and it alerts, it's not necessarily alerting on human remains, it's alerting on death scent, but it's scent that's kind of like rubbed off, if you will, onto other items. But I guess it would show that they're in the right area. What a painstaking search. You know, at this stage, Quinton's been missing for 3 weeks now. It was 3 weeks yesterday. So the decomposition of his body is 3 weeks old. And he's spent that time in a trash pile. So every day that goes by, it gets more and more difficult to find actual body parts. So what they're going to be looking for is bones. They're also going to be looking for things like clothing or a blanket or something that belonged to Quinton. It's something that they can pin on Leilani, that it shows the progression of the crime. So if they've got video evidence of her at the dumpsters at the trailer park, and then they've got something from Quinton, whether it's body parts, bones, or whether it's clothing or something like that, which will obviously not decompose. Will eventually, but not in 3 weeks. It's anything that they can pin that progression of crime on, any evidence that they can pin that on. But it worries me. I've got fears for this case because they haven't arrested her because they're building a case, they're collecting evidence. They don't have enough evidence to arrest her, which is, it's concerning to me at this stage. They're pinning all of their investigative hope on this landfill. And it does cross my mind, what if he's not in the landfill? What if it was something else that she put in the dumpsters? Blankets or bloody clothing or her bloody clothing or something like that. You know, if she'd actually murdered Quinton, beating him to death in a rage or something horrific like that, then there would be things that she'd have to dispose of. However, they did go around the house with luminol. They've sent dogs round the house. So we don't know what they found. There's been rumoured that Live sent tracking dogs went round and didn't find a track of him outside, so they kind of knew he hadn't walked away. That was obviously very in the early days, but they did luminol the house, and I think if they'd found evidence, of blood spatter or something like that, she would have been arrested there and then. It leads me to think that they didn't find anything like that. So if they didn't find anything like that, and, Quinton had been beaten to death and Leilani went to dispose of bloody items or a weapon or something like that, the police haven't found it. And I don't know whether Leilani could clean up a bloody crime scene good enough to the point where luminol wouldn't detect it. I don't think that would have happened. But there are stories and theories and things coming out. Now, the first story that Leilani came out with was that Quinton's biological father, Bubba Moss, his name's Henry, but known as Bubba, talked to the Daily Mail on this. She told police, "I took him overnight." Quinton Simon's father reveals that Georgia Toddler's prime suspect mother tried to pin the 18-month-old, we know he's 20 months, disappearance on him, but he hasn't seen his son in months. Can we just have a word about these terrible fathers? Quinton's father, Bubba, hasn't seen him in months. We've then got Zane's father, Cody, who also doesn't appear to be in his son's life. And then we've got Daniel Youngkin, who allegedly is the little baby Sky's father, who ran away. Presumably the police know where he is, but he left his baby in that situation. He left his baby to go into foster care. None of them are good fathers. None of these kids had a chance, really. You've got this drug-abusing mother, you've got these absent fathers, you've got Billy Joe, who people say is a drug user herself, who's absent because, yes, she's got to work. I get it, she's got to work, but she's absent. So that was the first story. Billy Joe then went and accused the babysitter of taking him. Leilani said that he wandered off. I mean, how many more stories are there going to be? Well, there is another story. Bubba has told the Daily Mail, and a sidebar, can we just revisit this terrible father thing? Because Bubba Moss will be getting paid for these stories. Every story that the Daily Mail do, he will get paid. He's cashing in on his child's death. So if people are saying, YouTubers are cashing in on well, actually, so is Quinton's biological father. But Billy Joe has been recorded. Bubba recorded her with her latest story. If you're high as hell, you do stupid shit, grandmother of missing Quinton Simon told the boy's father, as she believes he accidentally drowned in a bathtub after his mom passed out high on drugs, audio clip reveals. And she went on to say that, it was Leilani and Daniel who were high. So that would mean that Daniel's story of seeing Quinton in the pack and play before he left for work at 6 a.m. was a lie. It would mean everything Leilani said was a lie. I mean, we don't know, obviously, what Leilani's telling the cops. But didn't Megan Boswell get arrested for lying to the cops? Isn't that one of her charges? I believe it is. Now, this is an 11-minute phone call obtained by Daily Mail, but we've only heard, something like 30 seconds of it. And Bubba says, why didn't they just call the police? Let's listen to this clip.
I feel strongly about that. I feel, honestly and truthfully, Bubba, I ain't gonna lie to you, I feel like there was an accident. I feel like something happened while Quinton was in the bathtub and he drowned and they were both high. That's my theory.
Well, hell, they should just call the police if something like that happened.
If you're high as hell, man, you do stupid shit. Even yourself, you a different person whenever you defending her, because I'm not defending her. You know what I mean? But I know I'm not the same person on drugs.
Now, did you hear at the end there? She said, I'm not defending her, but I'm not the same person on drugs. So she kind of is defending her. And I think Billy Joe has got the sense to come out with things that muddy the waters, that play down the fact that Quinton might have been murdered. Because if he did accidentally drown or something like that, where it was purely an accident, the only thing that Leilani and Daniel can be charged with is abuse of a corpse and lying to the cops. But again, we don't know what they've told. So that's a much lesser sentence than it is if she was arrested, charged and convicted of murder. But this case, it's a cross between Casey Anthony and Megan Boswell. You know, it's one of them. It's going to go down in the history books of true crime in a way that's akin to Casey Anthony and Megan Boswell. Just horrible. But we know what happened in Casey's case. She got off with it. So I do have fears for this case. I have fears that there won't be justice for Quinton. And they really have to find something. You know, you only have to look at the Debbie Collier case that's going on in the same state, completely different area, different police forces, but you only have to look at that to show how confident the police were. You know, 3 weeks ago, the press conference, how confident they were that this was a personal murder. And Debbie had died due to homicide by someone known to her. And this was very, targeted. But now it's come out. Now, this is according to Fox News, but it's come out that two sources, one high-ranking police officer or somebody in law enforcement, have said that they don't believe it's homicide because they've not been able to pin the locations or the situation, presumably like phone pings and things like that, on the members of the family. And if they believe it's personal and targeted and it's not members of the family, then they've got nothing. So they're going down the accident or they're taking her own life route. Well, we don't know the results of the autopsy in that case. My point is that the police changed their entire story based on evidence that they couldn't use or they couldn't pin on the family members who were their prime suspects. They didn't name any suspects, but in this case, they have labelled Leilani the primary suspect. But what if they can't prove that? What if they don't have evidence to support that? And that's just their theory. It does concern me. It absolutely really worries me that there isn't going to be justice for little Quinton Simon. I very much hope that I'm wrong, but we have to face facts. This is a very, very difficult situation, and searching a landfill is literally looking for a needle in a haystack. But let me know your thoughts, comments below. I've been Michelle. Hope you're well. See you in the next video. It's goodbye from Miss Tillington and Miss Cassie Springer. Bye, guys.